Welcome to the Massacre Matinee.
Welcome back to the matinee.
Welcome back.
There's gonna be some purring probably. There's no Faith today. No frog.
No frog.
She's at home with the tadpole.
With the tadpole.
I've been wanting to use that all day. You have no idea how excited I was for that. So, Kate's got one for us today.
Oh, yeah. This one's pretty popular. I'm very surprised that you didn't hear about it because it was, I say recent, but now I realize that the trial for this was 10 years ago. So I keep referring to it as the Casey Anthony case, but it's actually the Caylee Anthony case because Casey's her mom.
Okay.
But the whole case, like, this is really sad that the victim really kind of got forgotten in this case. There's just so much around the rest of the family that it just kind of became about them rather than her, which is sad because she was only 3. She died.
Wow.
So let's get into it. We kind of have to start with Casey's info and background because really Caylee didn't have that much of a life to be like,
she didn't really have a history.
Yeah, she didn't have one. She didn't have time to make one. So Casey was born March 19th, 1986 in Warren, Ohio, Midwest gang.
Gang.
From reports from other family members and whatnot, he had a pretty normal childhood. Cindy and George Anthony. George was a ex-cop.
Okay, good history.
And her mom was a nurse. So,
pretty good middle class.
Very middle class for this time, She also had a brother named Lee, who was older than her by 2 years. He's brought into this case, but he's not really, no one really goes in depth into him as a person or any kind of thing like that. So he didn't really have a huge part in this, because he wasn't living in the house when, everything happened. He was off on his own, and the only, parts that he's actually brought into is, stuff that happened during Casey and his childhood kind of thing. So it's, the only part that he's in.
Okay.
Casey didn't finish high school, because, she kind of, wanted to be that fun, rebellious, not really rebellious, but I think she just didn't care about school, so she was missing a few credits, so she told her parents yeah, I'm gonna go take extra classes, I'm gonna do everything, I'm gonna graduate with my class, I'm gonna walk. So they had the full expectation of she's gonna walk, so they go to the graduation, she's not in the program. She didn't actually do anything. She just said that she was going to school and never went to school. She was going to friends' houses and everything.
She didn't even show up at the graduation. They're just
she didn't show up to school. She never got the credits, so she never actually technically graduated, and she dropped out.
Okay.
At the age of 19, Casey found out that she was pregnant, and no one knew who the father was. She kind of beat around the bush. She didn't really give an actual answer of oh, it's this person, but then she would be oh yeah, it was my fiance who I was dating. How wrapped around your arm she is.
This is her favorite way to sit. But you said that she was trying to, beat around the bush about who the baby daddy was, but she was most definitely not beating around the bush. I might edit that out, but I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Well, the whole thing is weird, because then she goes, oh, it was my fiance at the time, Jesse Grund, but then she was well, it was also this friend, but he conveniently died in a car crash, so he can't say,
Right.
And then she had the story that because there's a few documentaries out on this, I think I watched over 6.5 hours of documentary.
Wow.
For this case.
The commitment.
A lot of it was at work.
Well, it wasn't really watching it that
no,
point.
I was listening to it, because a lot of it, I can get the visual. Some of it I watched at home.
Which is crazy when you think about it, because, working where we do, it did not get either of us into true crime, but it really got us into the deep diving into true crime, because we've got 8 hours a day to just
and we can listen to
work.
stuff and like have our phone setting off to the side so we can.
I listen to so many other true crime podcasters lately. It's been a lot of Rotten Mango. Well, it was a lot of Rotten Mango. I've taken a little bit of a break from it just because sometimes listening to a different case, through podcasts, you're sometimes listening to like 4 or 5 different cases in an 8-hour day, depending on how long the episodes are.
They all kind of mush together, don't they?
So I like to switch it up once in a while. And
you gotta watch. You gotta listen to Last Podcast. I think you'd really like their vibe.
I do, and I have to put their link in the description of
so
last week's
funny.
because I forgot.
They do it in like a narrative. Really a narrative, but they're so fucking funny because it's like one of them's a comedian and actor. Well, 2 of them are comedians, one's like an author and everything like that, and it's so funny. So like the author's the one that like plays it all out and everything, and like you just got these 2 comedians just fucking going off. It's so funny, and they do shit on like cryptids and whatnot. It's great. Little promo for it as if they need it.
I don't think they need a promo from somebody like us, but someday that promo will matter.
But in this newer documentary, it's kind of Casey Anthony's like tell-all essentially for her side of the story, and yet the documentary like raises a lot more questions than it did give answers. Like, she never gave an answer for everything. She contradicted herself so much. You'll form your own opinions, but basically in that she says that Caylee's father was the result of a rape. Like, or Caylee was the result of a rape by her father, I guess I should.
Caylee's father was a rapist. Basically. I think that's what your brain was saying.
Yeah. So she was at a party and like she was drunk and she was talking with this guy and then she kind of blacked out and like just remembered him and whatnot on her and kind of like what she says.
Okay.
But to this day, no one really knows because like there was paternity test done. So Jesse Grun did want a paternity test to see, hey, could this be mine? Yeah. On August 9th, 2005, Caylee Anthony was born. Something happened between Jesse Grun and Caylee, or Casey, sorry.
So many names.
Their names are so close. Like, that's okay. That they broke up.
So he got the paternity test back, and was it negative then?
Yeah. So he wasn't the father.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that's why they
it was probably definitely a motivating factor.
Mm-hmm. So she was living with her parents, and working and whatnot, and like her parents like Caylee and everything like that, and like they were really happy to have a grandkid and all that. Like they weren't ever mad at her for being pregnant. Like they never were like, "Oh, you're ruining your life" or whatnot. There is some sources that say that Casey wanted to put the baby up for adoption, and that her mom was like, "No, you're not gonna do that. Like you're gonna have this baby." Like. I mean, but, like, the mom, like, came out and was like, "Oh, that didn't happen." So a lot of this is like he said, she said kind of thing.
I can totally understand a grandmother feeling that way towards what would be their adopted away grandchild. Yeah. And I wouldn't put it past her to have actually said that, but I don't think she would come out in public and say, yeah, I did say that. I did try to force her to keep the kid because it's going to make her look like a bad person. Right,
but I mean, at this point,
that's what she did.
Casey's living in a house rent-free. Right. With free child care and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that's what's
and happy to buy things for the kids. Yeah. You basically don't have to do anything if you really don't want to. Why didn't she just offer to sign off custody of the kid?
I don't know. You can do that. Yeah. I don't know. She had, like, because then there were some friends that were like, she was excited to be pregnant. Like, she, like, absolutely loved her kid. Like, so happy to, like, have a daughter and all of this kind of stuff. Never would wanted to put her up for adoption. So I'm wondering if it was just a brief time where she was like, fuck, I'm 19, I'm pregnant, I'm scared. Like, told her mom one thing and then, like,
totally understandable.
Came like to an understanding like, okay, this isn't going to be as bad as I think it's going to be, and like told her friends one thing. I think that's what kind of happened for the fact that these two perspectives kind of happen. But this is the beginning of where people, like, question her severely of, like, did you want her? Did you not want her? Because, like, we're hearing two different stories.
Super sketchy.
Mm-hmm. And, like, that's how she is in a lot of this. Like, she's so fucking sketchy in everything she does that it's just like, why?
Okay.
So, basically being raised by your grandparents.
Right.
But I mean,
to a certain degree, like, obviously, toddler years are fucking horrible.
Yeah, because
I do wish the frog here was to put a little input on this.
Because, I mean, at this point, her dad was retired. And the parents were watching her a lot more because Cindy was still working, but George had retired from being a police officer, so he was home. And, like, Casey was working and whatnot. I guess Casey's attitude or like the way she was acting kind of changed at some point because Cindy was questioning, like, are you able to be a mom? Like, she just started really questioning her ability to be a mother towards Caylee. Okay. And that led to like a huge argument to the point to where Casey just picked up Caylee and like left the house and disappeared for like a month.
Wow.
Over the like weeks that she was gone, Cindy would like call her and be like, how is Caylee doing? Like, we're concerned for her because, you know, she was questioning her ability to be a mom anyway. And she'd be like, oh, she's fine. She's with her nanny. Like, I'm at work. Like, we're okay. Like, she's fine.
Like, she could afford a nanny.
Right. July 13th, 2008, Casey's parents got a letter saying, like, hey, her car got impounded. Her parents' name. Mm-hmm.
So they got
the letter and they were like, hey, come get the car. So at this point, George, like, he goes to go get the car. Cindy's like, well, I need to track her down because she got our fucking car impounded. Like, she wasn't really supposed to take this car because, you know, in the fit of rage, she fucking left. So they finally tracked down Casey, and she's at her new boyfriend's house, Tony Lazaro, and she just drove there because she knew who that was, picked up Casey, and was just like, you're fucking coming home and answering at this point.
So when she went there and picked up Casey, like, Caylee wasn't there?
Caylee wasn't there.
She was concerned?
Apparently with the nanny. She was with the nanny. That's what Casey told her. She's with her nanny. Like, we'll just... And Cindy probably was like, okay, we'll go get her later. I just want to deal with this right now.
One at a time, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she drives her home, and they're waiting for George to come back, and Cindy calls 911. She's like, I have a person here that needs to come get arrested because she took our car. It was impounded.
Please, this sound is being recorded. How can I help you?
County Potential Weapons Pershing and come on.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, I drove to the police department here on Pershing, but you guys are closed. I need to bring someone into the police department. Can you tell me where the closest one I can come into?
What are you trying to accomplish by bringing them to the station?
I have a 22-year-old person that has grand theft sitting in my auto with me.
So the 22-year-old person stole something?
Yes.
Is this a relative?
Yes.
Where did they steal it from?
My car and also money.
Okay, is this your son?
Daughter.
Okay, so your daughter stole money from your car?
No, my car was stolen. We retrieved it today. We found out where it was at. I've retrieved it. I've got that, and I've got affidavit for my banking account. I want to bring her in. I want to press charges.
Where did all of this happen?
Oh, it's been happening.
No, but I need to establish a jurisdiction is what I'm trying.
Oh, I live in Orlando.
Yeah, but what address did these thefts occur at?
Well, I guess my residence, I guess. 4937 Hope Spring Drive.
That's actually going to be in the jurisdiction of the sheriff's office, ma'am, not the Orlando Police Department.
All righty.
Let me transfer you over to the communications section for Orange County.
Okay. Now, is the Orlando Sheriff's Department the one on 436, is that open this afternoon, this evening?
The substation you're at on Pershing, if it's Orlando Police, we're open primarily during the day. But that's not the sheriff. That's the city police, which does not have jurisdiction for your
And then there's the sheriff's department on 436.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer you to the sheriff's communications section, and you can determine that. Hold on.
Okay. My next thing will be down the Trout thing, and we'll have a court order to get her that's the way you want to play, we'll do it, and you'll never. That's not the way I want to play. Well, then you have one day. No, I'm not giving you another day. I've given you a month. All right, sir.
The first one is just her basically saying, like, oh, I need someone to come arrest my daughter. She took the car. Like, I want to press charges for stealing this car, essentially. And they're like, okay, well, like, we'll get someone over there. Just make sure she stays there. They're not too worried about, like, sending someone, like, immediately because it's not, like, an emergency kind of. So at this point, Cindy's really pressing Casey, where's Caylee? Mm-hmm. Where is she? Like, where does this nanny live? Do you have a number? And she's not fucking saying anything.
Just avoiding
it. She's like, she doesn't want to talk about it and everything like that.
That's sketchy.
And then after a while, she finally breaks down and says, Caylee's been missing for the last 31 days.
What's the address of your emergency?
4937 Hope Spring Drive.
4937 Hope Spring
Drive, Orlando.
Okay, what's happening?
I have someone here that I need to be arrested in my home.
They're there right now?
A possible missing child. I have a 3-year-old that's been missing for a month.
A 3-year-old?
Yes.
Have you reported that?
I'm trying to do that now, ma'am.
Okay, what did the person do that you need arrested?
My daughter.
For what?
For stealing an auto and stealing money. I already spoke with someone. They said they would patch me through the Orlando Sheriff's Department and have a deputy here. I was in the car. I was going to drive her to the police station, and no one's open. They said they would bring a deputy to my home when I got home to call them.
So she stole your vehicle?
Yes.
When did she do that?
On the 30th. I just got it back from the impound. I'd like to speak to an officer. Can you have someone come out to my house?
Okay, I gotta ask you these questions so I can put them in the call, okay?
Okay.
30th of June?
Yes.
Okay, how old is your daughter?
22.
Okay, what's her name?
My name?
Her name.
Her name, Casey Anthony. Casey.
And your name?
Cynthia Anthony.
Cynthia, can I get a phone number that I can reach you at?
407-808-4731.
And you said you have the vehicle back?
Yes. I have the statement.
Stacy's there right now?
Yes, I got her. I finally found her after a month. She's been missing for a month. I found her, but we can't find my granddaughter.
Okay, how tall is Casey?
5'1.5".
Thin, medium, or heavy build?
Thin.
Color hair?
Brown.
What color shirt is she wearing?
White.
What color pants?
Oh, they're shorts. They're plaid. They're like pink and teal and white and black plaid.
Does she have any weapons on her?
No.
Is Casey not telling you where her daughter is?
Correct.
Okay, we'll have a deputy out to you as soon as one's available, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So she gets put on the phone, and I have never heard somebody so unbothered to be on the phone with police to tell them that her kid has been missing for 31 days. And like, she's so monotone, so not like interested in talking and all of this kind of stuff, and that like draws red flags. So then they're like, okay, we're gonna have police come over, and they hang up, and they're still waiting for like cops to come over because, you know, they live in a bigger area. So
takes time. You said they were waiting for George to come back too. So
at this point, George does come back.
Okay.
And Cindy goes because she wants to go. Car's all right. Like, why did it get impounded and everything like that? Casey says, "Oh well, I ran out of gas, so they towed it because I just left it there because like they found her purse in there, they found Kaylee's car seat, her toys, some of her clothes, and everything like that in the back seat. But when they opened the trunk, it was just like." Have you ever, like, walked outside and, like, the heat kind of hits you? Or if you've walked past, like, a bad smell, it kind of, like, it's like a wall that hits you in the face. And that's what it was. And her mom's like, it smells like a fucking dead body in this car. So she calls police 3rd time.
911, what's your emergency? I called a little bit ago, the deputy sheriff saying I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She has been missing for a month. Her mother finally admitted that she's been missing. Okay, what is here now? Okay, what is the address that you're calling from? 4937 Hope Spring Drive. We're talking about a 3-year-old little girl. 4937 what? Hope Spring, HOPESPRING Drive, Orlando. My daughter finally admitted that the baby's in the store. I need to find her. Your daughter admitted that the baby is where? But the babysitter took her a month ago that my daughter's been looking for. I told you my daughter was missing for a month. I just found her today, but I can't find my granddaughter. And she just admitted to me that she's been trying to find her herself. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car. Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name? Caylee. Caylee. Anthony. Caylee Anthony? Yes. Okay, is she white, black, or Hispanic? She's white. How long has she been missing for? I have not seen her since the 7th of June. What is her date of birth? 8/9/2000. Oh God, she's 3. She's 2005. George Kaylee's missing. Kaylee's missing. Casey says Danny took her a month ago. She's been missing for a month. Okay, I understand. Can you calm down for me for just a minute? And I need to know what's going on, okay? I'm gonna try and tell. Is your daughter there? I'm on the phone with them. Is your daughter there? Yes. Can I speak with her? Do you mind if I speak with her? Thank you. I called them 2 hours ago. They haven't gotten here. She finally admitted to Danny took her a month ago. Ma'am. Okay, Danny's here to talk. They want to talk to you. Answer the question. Hello? Yes. Hi. Well, can you tell me what's going on a little bit? I'm sorry? Can you tell me a little bit what's going on? My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days. And you know who has her? I know who has her. I've tried to contact her. I actually received a phone call today, now from a number that is no longer in service. I did get to speak to my daughter for about a minute. Okay, did you guys call and report a vehicle stolen? Yes, my mom did. Okay, so there's been a vehicle stolen too? No, this was my vehicle. What vehicle was stolen? It's a 98 Pontiac Sunfire. Okay, I have deputies on the way to you right now for that. But now your 3-year-old, okay, your 3-year-old daughter is missing. Caylee Anthony. Yes. White female. Anthony. Yes, white female. 3 years old. 8/9/2005 is her date of birth. Yes. And you last saw her a month ago. 31 days. 31 days. Who has her? Do you have a name? Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. Who is that? Babysitter? She's been my nanny for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago? I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which is stupid. Okay. Can you give me the name of the nanny again? Like, spell it out for me? Zenaida, Zenaida. Last name? Fernandez. -Gonzalez. I think the officers are here.
The officers are there?
Yes.
Okay, hold on a second. Don't hang up with me yet. I need you... Okay.
My daughter just, like, got my car back, and it was impounded, and it smells like there was a fucking dead body in here, and she's freaking out. She's hysterical.
Right, because Caylee's been missing for 31 days.
And they get Casey on the phone again. She's still fucking monotone, like, not caring, explaining it. She's like, I just left garbage in there. There was an old pizza box. She's blaming it on fucking pizza that was sitting in there.
Rotting pizza does not smell like death.
So, go up.
So this was all 3 phone calls before the police even showed up? Oh my lord.
It took over an hour and a half for police to show up.
Oh my lord. For a missing child case?
For a missing child case, because at this point, I think 3 different dispatchers, like, took each call and everything like that. So it was just
so they didn't realize right away, I'm sure, that it was, okay.
Yeah. So, saying that she had the missing toddler, and Casey said that the last time that she saw Caylee was June 16th. The family had never heard of this babysitter before, her having the babysitter.
Okay.
So police get there and they're like, okay, how about walk us through the day? She goes, okay, well, I work at my boyfriend's house. He had work, so I took Caylee, dropped her off at her nanny's, and I went to work. At this point, they're living in Florida.
Right. At that time, that would have probably been a pretty good job.
And she said that when she got done with work, cell phones do exist. Not a lot of, like, the older generation kind of had them.
Right.
So she was, like, calling her house phone, and, like, the phone number said it was disconnected. Like, it was an existing phone number. So she was like, oh, that's weird. So she went to the apartment, but no one was home. So she went to, like, the parks that she knew she frequented. Not there. And then she just never called police after that.
And this is the story that Casey's telling officers.
And they were like, well, why didn't you call the cops if you knew that she was gone and the babysitter had her, like, your kid was kidnapped?
Right.
Why wouldn't you call the cops? She's like, well, I wanted to try other means of finding her before I got the police involved.
You should always get the police
involved.
Right,
so this is where it gets sketchy. Like, this is where it's like, what the fuck? Like, why? This makes no sense. So they're like, okay, take us to, because she worked for a third party at Universal Studios that, like, ran, like, the photo booths and everything like that. So she had, like, an office.
She was a vendor there.
Yeah, but they had, like, an office in the building. So it was, like, the third party company that ran the cameras on the rides and all that kind of stuff, because that's outsourced technically. But she worked in, like, the office portion of it.
Okay.
So they're like, okay, well, can you take us to your office so then that way we can see if maybe there's some clues that we can find to tell us where Caylee is, because maybe she had stopped there after you had already left or something. Like, we just want to see, like,
if anything happened.
Yeah. So Kaylee's like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And, they drive there and, like, they get up and, like, they have security. And they want to know who's trying to enter into the building. They're like, oh, like, whose office are you trying to get into? Oh, Casey Anthony. He's looking. Oh, that's weird. I can't find that name on here. And they're like, oh, are you sure? Like, she works here. And she's like, oh, yeah, I just haven't been working here long. Like, all that. And the security officer goes, oh, okay. But, like, she's there with cops. So he
lets him in because cops.
And she's, like, walking down the hallways, and she's, like, waving and saying hi to people, and they're kind of like, oh, hi.
Oh, you are.
And, like, she's, like, walking, she leads them down to, like, a dead-end kind of hallway, and then she just, like, stops at the end of the hallway, and they're like, oh, is your office around here? And she turns around, and she goes, oh, I actually don't work here. And they're like, what? She's like, I haven't worked here in a long time.
But she took it that fucking far?
She took it that far. And they're like, okay, we need to have a conversation.
And I thought that Kehoe was petty.
Yeah. So they, like, take her back to the station. And they're like, okay, like, we need to have a conversation because your story's not adding up. Because they had also sent other police officers to go to the apartment of the nanny. And they weren't even, like, they tried the phone number that she had given. Oh, it was disconnected,
nothing.
you know, because it wasn't a real number. They get to the apartment that she apparently lives in. It's completely empty. There's no furniture in it. They go to the building manager and they're like, hey, like, did this person ever live here? And they're like, no, we've never had a tenant with this name.
Right.
Turns out one of her old friends used to live in that apartment.
And she was just using that address?
Yep.
It was probably the first thing she thought of off the top of her head.
Yep, one of Casey's friends used to live in that apartment. And that friend actually, like, comes in later. I don't remember her name. I didn't write it down. She's not hugely pertinent to the story other than the apartment, like the other thing.
Right.
So they were like, okay, you know what? Your story's not adding up. You clearly know what happened to Caylee, and she gets arrested for child neglect. They don't really look into anything else. They just kind of think, okay, well, she's acting so suspicious. She, like, clearly was the one who made her disappear. She knows where she is. Okay. And then so, like, while she's in jail, they kind of, like, go and they want to investigate what happened between the last day that the grandparents saw Caylee and Casey walk out the door to her coming home, her wreaking like death, her saying, oh, she's been missing for 31 days. So they looked at the 31 days and they found pictures of her at parties and having a great time. She got a tattoo that said Bella Vita, beautiful life in Italian, and just doesn't look like someone who has a kid that was kidnapped and missing. Like, she doesn't look worried at all.
Jeez, this is all super sketchy.
Yep. So, August 21st, Casey Anthony returns home when a bounty hunter / TV figure, Leonard Padilla, posted her $500,000 bail. Because he thought, okay, if I get her out of jail, she's definitely, like, you know, she got the taste of, oh, this is fucking jail. She's going to show us where Caylee is. It's going to be fine. Like,
I'm sorry, that's a cop-out. That's giving someone the easy way out.
Oh, yeah, because she didn't say anything.
Right.
She just went into her house. And, like, there's, like, people... Because at this point, since that TV figure got it, it had a lot of media coverage now. Because this is so weird. It's so bizarre. Like... How do you have a mother that is so fucking unbothered that her kid's missing and everything like that? And, like, the photos of her at parties got leaked and whatnot. So, a lot of media coverage. So, a lot of people showed up on the Anthony's doorstep. And, like, you can see videos of George, like, throwing fucking, like, pickets and everything like that back at the crowd. Like, I mean, there's people calling her a baby killer and all of that kind of
Very
stuff.
Very aggressive
whatnot.
paparazzo, I'm sure.
She was only out of jail for 8 days. Because they found evidence that she had stolen a checkbook from her friend who had that apartment. And she was just forging checks.
Oh, check fraud.
Yep. And thus identity theft because she was cashing these checks and whatnot. So, goes to jail for that. And at this point, George and Cindy are doing a lot of TV interviews. Talking about, like, oh, Caylee was, like, the sweetest girl. And
hopefully
like, she was
comes
so
home
smart. Yeah. Basically, and like they were like, we don't know if our daughter had involvement and whatnot. Like
they truly were blindsided by this.
Yeah, I mean, it's mainly Cindy doing the talking. George is just kind of sits there with his like arms crossed.
He's probably
and
kind of
that.
super fucking pissed about it.
Well, George is an interesting character in this whole thing.
Okay,
because when we get into the trial portion, a lot of it will make sense of why. Like, there's a lot of people in this case to where I don't know who the bad guy is, but I don't think it's one person.
Oh.
So, December 11th, 2008, a meter reader named Roy Kronk, which I love people when they have a last name Kronk because I always think of Emperor's New Groove. Pull the lever, Kronk. Anyway. He was out doing, meeting readings over near the Anthony's home. And he's like, fuck, I gotta take a piss. So he goes into the wood line. Because, like, by their house, like, it's like suburbia, and they have...
You just pee on the trees really
wood
quick.
lines. And he went to go pee, and he kind of looks down, and he's like, kind of like laundry hamper and a trash bag right there. And he looks over, and he kind of, like, gets really startled. And he goes and he picks up this item that he's kind of about, and he turns it over, and it's a skull.
No.
And tells the cops, like, hey, I just found a human skull. So obviously they fucking rush over there.
Yeah.
On December 19th, the body was confirmed to be Caylee. The skull and the rest of the bones were wrapped in a Winnie the Pooh blanket that was in a trash bag that was also in, like, one of those little tiny half hamper boxes.
Okay.
Do you know who Dr. G is? Have you ever seen that?
Dr. Garavaglia.
Yeah, she did the autopsy and everything
Really?
like that. I didn't realize she did it. I love that show. I know. I remember I was listening to it at work and I heard her voice. I'm like, oh my god. So like, if anyone's fucking autopsy that I'm gonna trust, it's gonna be fucking hers.
Oh, for sure.
Do you have an opinion as to the manner of death in this case?
Yes.
What is that opinion?
Homicide.
So she did the autopsy and everything. Well, there wasn't really a whole lot to autopsy. It was just bones. But she did a lot of the testing and everything like that. She said she couldn't find cause of death. Really homicide because there was duct tape. Duct tape was the only thing holding the jaw or the mandible to the rest of the skull. And she's like, this wouldn't have happened unless there was something holding it. So her theory was that there was tape over her mouth and nose because of how little she was, how wide the duct tape was, and like how it was placed. A lot of people were like, oh, the duct tape just slipped off the trash bag and went on the skull. Why? That was the defense's thing. Like during the trial, that was
inside the blanket.
Yeah,
wrapped
right.
Up with
and also perfectly over the jaw holding it on. Because they were like, oh, well, there was no DNA on the inside of the tape. So clearly it made no contact with skin. DNA, if it's out in the elements, breaks down. Yeah. And it doesn't stay there. It's not something that is forever.
And it's been a month, over a month.
It's been well over a month. She went missing in June.
So it's been 6 months in the Florida heat.
In the Florida fucking heat. Where animals are, in the woods.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, DNA's not gonna fucking stay on tape. So they never look into anyone other than the nanny. And they found out that person does exist. She's not even a fucking nanny. She doesn't even live anywhere near this thing. Casey just heard that name on the news for something.
And she liked it.
And she just liked it and used it.
Zanny the nanny.
Her boyfriend had roommates and everything like that. And he's done a lot of fucking interviews. Because he said that in the beginning he was like, Casey was a really good fucking mom. She would always bring Caylee over. Caylee was great kid. She was really smart, so she knew her shapes, her colors. And she's only 3.5. According to him, he liked to indulge in Xanax. We refer to it as Zanny. So that's why he was like, oh, Zanny the nanny, he was, that's Xanax and everything like that.
Sense.
So there's so many theories in this case. This whole case is just basically theories. So they don't really investigate. They don't look into anyone. Because of just how Casey was acting. She goes to trial for murder. Prosecutors wanted the death penalty because it was a 3-year-old little girl. They want the death penalty.
Right. Her
trial started in June 2011. Prosecution kind of pointed her as the party girl who was she missed the life, she didn't want to be a mom, and just did anything she could to kind of get that life.
Right.
And they kind of were like, well, she was so unconcerned about the fact that she was dead because there's a clip of her finding out that they found her body and that it was hers. Because at this point, she's been sitting in jail. Mm-hmm. She wasn't allowed to go to the memorial or anything like that. And I'll bring that up because the memorial was something fucking else. She's in jail and Cindy's like, by the way, they found Caylee's body and she was murdered. And, she's like, that's not surprising.
Really? If I find that clip, I'm putting it in.
Unfortunately, I could not find that audio.
The whole, because everything was recorded of her, all of her visits with her parents, Yeah, like those are fun. Like just in your free time, listen to those, because like if you really want to know like how she acted in this whole thing and how unfucking concerned she was with that, and it kind of
someone be so cold about their own child.
Well, Cindy kind of calls her out on it in one of those, and she's just kind of like, I don't know what your involvement was, because she did an interview and she was like, well, I don't know what my daughter's involvement is in it and all that kind of stuff, and kind of like not really supporting her, not like kind of supporting her, because she doesn't know. Cindy doesn't know. Cindy is not a bad person in any of this case. Like, I feel so bad for Cindy and all of the shit that kind of happened. So she's like talking, and like Caylee's blowing the fuck up. She's like, how can you say that you don't know my involvement and everything like that? She's like, you haven't cried. Like, you haven't cried once over this. And she's like, do you really expect me to break down every 5 seconds and everything like that and cry when I have to talk to detectives? I have to talk to all of these people. I can't be crying and breaking down. I have to do this. And it's like, I'm sorry. Like, if I had a kid and they went missing for 31 days, I wouldn't wait 31 days to report. I'd be like, oh, they've been missing for 6 hours? Not even? Oh, I'm calling the police. I would be hysterical. Like, the cops don't care if you're hysterical, because they're like, okay, that's a mom that cares. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just bothers me. It pisses me off. So Casey's defense in this whole thing took such a drastic turn of, like, and to be honest, they didn't have a whole lot to work with. It's just crazy. So she's just like, one story that comes out was that Caylee had drowned in the family pool.
And you didn't try and get help?
Right. And that she took a nap and she woke up and Caylee wasn't in bed with her, and she knew that her dad was home, so she's like, okay, so, you know, he must have woken up and my dad took her. So she went to go walk outside because she kind of heard some commotion, and she saw that George had Caylee in her hand, and then in his hands, soaking wet, and him screaming, look at what you fucking did, like, this is you, and everything like that, because she had fallen asleep. I guess she wasn't a person that normally took naps. So he's like screaming at her, like, look what you fucking did, like, you're a horrible mom, and all of this kind of stuff. And then he had the plan of, well, let me take care of it so you don't get charged with child neglect and all that kind of stuff. That was her story, that he took care of it. But then another story comes out that Casey thought that Caylee was still alive, and George just took her somewhere and was hiding her, and that he kidnapped her, and that she was still alive, and that if she just did like whatever he said, that he was gonna bring her back, because he would always be like, you're both gonna come home soon, like, and all this kind of stuff. So this is where it's like everyone's like, what? Like, this you told 2 stories and both of them are like adding up, like, what?
Right.
And then Casey's lawyer goes, well, Casey didn't say anything because she's been trained to lie since she was a young girl, because she was scared of her dad, who she claims that he was sexually assaulting her from a really young age up until she was about 12, and then her brother took over and was sexually assaulting her, which, knowing how George acts and everything like that, I'm not going to dispute the sexual, like, assault claims. Because I think they very much happened with how she acts about that. Because when she talks about that, she gets emotional. Like, actually emotional. So I think there's truth in that. I don't think she's lying about the fact that he sexually assaulted her. I don't think she's lying in the fact that she is terrified of her father. And some of the things that he says later on makes it seem like it's true.
Okay.
So they bring George on the stand. They're like, did you ever sexually assault Casey? And he's like, well, obviously, no. I would never fucking touch my daughter. Like, I wouldn't do that. You know, I'm an ex-cop. Why the fuck would I do that? And I don't know why they brought it up, because he wasn't the one on fucking trial. Because at this point, it wasn't until after the trial that she brought up the whole, like, drowned thing and everything like that. It wasn't during the trial.
Okay.
Except for, like, once. They were like, oh yeah, she drowned, in, like, the opening statement, and then they never fucking proved anything with it. Like, he said it, I think it was a newer lawyer, never fucking proved anything or gave any, like, evidence or any kind of thing like that to prove that she did drown.
Right. Which, I mean, he might have just been going off of her telling him that story.
Oh, yeah. They brought up George attempting to commit suicide because he, in his words, he was like, okay, I'm going to explain this. I'm going to say this once. He was so upset. It was like right after they found out that the body was Caylee's.
Okay.
And he was so upset, like, how could this happen and everything like that. And, like, she was his world. So he drove to, like, some motel, took a whole bunch of fucking pills, drank a shit ton of fucking beer and whiskey, and, like, tried to die, and he didn't. And I don't know why they brought that up. Like, why would they bring that up? He's not the one on trial.
Were they trying to make him seem more guilty? So was it the defense that brought it up? It was the
defense that brought it up.
The defense's entire defense then was based on making George look guilty.
Mm-hmm. I think they were like, oh, you wanted to kill yourself, so you're the one that actually did it. Like, I don't know. This whole fucking case.
They legitimately could not find proof, and you can't humanize someone that's basically not acting like a human in this situation.
Mm-hmm. But it's also George. Like, it's not even the one that's on trial. Like, why are they harping on him? Like, I still think police should have looked into him. I really do, because he was the only other one that was home.
It's the only defense they had, is just make him look worse.
Mm-hmm. I think they were just trying to, like, shift the blame him too. But on July 5th, the jury found Casey not guilty of first-degree murder, aggravated manslaughter, and aggravated child abuse, based on the fact that most of the evidence was just circumstantial. Which it was. They had no actual evidence, like, tying her to the body or any kind of thing like that. The only thing that
there was a murder, but they do not know
the
for
only
sure
thing that tied her to it was the fact that in the trunk they found they did it in a really weird way, and a way that the science technique wasn't used in other trials, and it was like the first trial that it was used in was this scientist came up with a way to collect vapors because they were trying to see if, like, a decomposing body was stored in the trunk.
Okay.
That they took the air vapors from it, they put it in, like, a paint can, did something to separate it, collected the vapors, and then they tested it to see, like, what chemical compounds were in it, and they found, like, a shit ton of chloroform. They went on the family computer and looked at the search history, and someone searched how to make chloroform. So that's, like, the only things that they had to tie some kind of connection to it. But they kind of wanted to throw that whole scientist thing out of the window, and no one fucking wanted to, like, see if that was legitimate or not, because this was the first trial that the scientists, like, presented this kind of evidence to.
So, but the way that I'm gathering this story then is that she took off, something or another happened. Was the baby in the trunk at a point?
The only thing that shows that a body would have been in that trunk was, like, there was, like, a dark ring where, like, blood or something, or, like,
why didn't they test that?
Don't know, because they just...
Because I feel like if they were able to tie Caylee's body to the car...
It was just the fact that it smelled really bad, and, like, they just went, like, it was trash that was sitting there. I think it was just sketchy police work. I really don't think police work was done.
What did she say that it was?
That it was a pizza box and trash that she had left in the car because she was going to take it out when her and her mom got into a fight and she left with the car. And then it was just trash just sitting in the Florida heat.
Well, conveniently enough for the story, I've got some leftover pizza that we can have for our snack today.
I'm sorry, pizza doesn't fucking smell that bad if you leave it.
Well,
even in the heat.
It doesn't, like, but...
It doesn't smell like a fucking dead body. Now, if it was like, oh, I left a case of beef in the car, okay.
There's been... I watched some mechanic finds on YouTube and stuff, and there's ones where it's like, oh yeah, a package of ground beef has been sitting, like, by your spare tire for the last 6 months. That's why your car smells so bad.
God, I couldn't even fucking imagine.
I feel like they really should have done more testing on that car, though. They should have.
They should have done a lot more. They should have looked into other people.
They should have.
But she was found guilty on, like, 4 counts of the providing false information to police, because she did lie about, where she worked and, who lived where and whatnot. And then she also got charged for, the forging of checks and, identity theft. And that just kind of...
depending on where you are, that can be a felony.
Yeah.
I mean, identity theft is a felony, but the check forging. I don't know if it's a felony across the board or not.
But that just landed her 4 years in jail and a $4,000 fine.
That's it? So she didn't get any charges for any kind of child neglect or anything, though,
Nope.
for not reporting the missing kid?
Nope.
I feel like that should be a standard neglect
There's a
charge.
thing about that I'll mention later.
Okay.
2 of the counts of the providing false information, like that, would it be appealed. Caylee ultimately received credit for time and good behavior because she was sitting in jail for at least years before she had her trial. She was only in jail for 3 years. She was given a year's probation for the checks and billed for more than $200,000 owed to law enforcement for the search of Caylee, because they had gotten a group from, I think, Texas involved to help look for her.
Okay, so they had full-on search and rescue teams out and everything, and Caylee was just in a laundry basket, 50 feet from the house.
Basically, 3 blocks from the house.
Oh, 3 blocks, okay.
So, basically from your house to my house distance. That's how far the wood line was.
That's not that far.
In that time, when Caylee was still in jail, they had a memorial service. Caylee insisted, I want her to have a very private service. Just and family. She was trying she was trying really, really hard to be able to be released for it. And her parents basically said, fuck you. And they had a very publicized memorial, huge. It was in this huge building. There was reporters there. They had some dude fucking going ham singing for it and everything like that. You'll have to fucking videos of that. But
a little bit over the top, but okay.
It's over the top. I'm glad that a lot of people cared about her and in the public and everything like that, because for a long time Caylee was a very hated person on the internet. In the internet's eyes, she was guilty. Blame them for the information that they had.
Right.
But at this memorial service, and this is where I start questioning Georgia's involvement for it, and start believing a lot of what Caylee was actually saying during the whole sexual abuse, because he's giving a speech about it, because a couple of family members would go up and be like, oh, we're gonna miss her, she was such a nice kid and all of that, normal kids, she was a sweetheart, normal stuff that you would say about a 3-year-old.
Right.
He gets up there and he's talking about how he's gonna miss the way her sweat smelled of her coming in from playing, and how it smelled sweet.
I stand here today proud to be the grandfather of Caylee Marie Anthony. I'm also standing here today proud to have Cindy by my side, to have Lee up here with me, to have Mallory, to have my mother-in-law, my brothers-in-law, as my father. I wish my father was here today. My mother can't be here. I'm thankful for friends. I'm thankful for Sherry and Dennis. I'm thankful for everyone that's here today to pay tribute to a beautiful little girl who not only meant the world to me, but meant the world to my family, and so many of you that never got a chance to actually hug her, smell her hair, smell the sweet sweat when she came in from outside. To hear her call me JoJo. Sure, I was Grandpa, but I was JoJo to her. Some days when I wouldn't maybe just pay attention to her for just a second, she would get right in my face and, JoJo? Grandpa JoJo, George. She knew me. She knew how to push me to smile at her and hug her. I miss that kiss on the cheek, that special hug that I tell everyone, it's so great to get a hug from someone, but to get a hug from a small child, that gives me energy like you couldn't imagine.
I wasn't there and I'm cringing.
No one showed Casey that because she didn't get to see the memorial service. She was in jail. She never watched it because, she didn't get to go. She didn't get to go to her own daughter. Like, they didn't let her and everything like that. But she wasn't at this point, she wasn't in jail for that.
She should have at least been shown what happened.
But she didn't want to watch it because she was like, you know, for whatever reason, like if it's hard for her to watch, and like during this other documentary.
So, but like if I was someone that was there and I was witnessing this, I'd be like, hey, look, I know this is gonna make you uncomfortable, but like skip to 43 minutes and 57 seconds. Like,
and she watches it and she like had to turn it off because she was so fucking disgusted with that her dad was like saying this shit about her daughter. And like at that point it kind of clicked. She's like, my dad had to be assaulting Caylee also.
Wow.
And
with the history,
it's just
the possible
I'm sorry
history.
at a memorial service. I'm not going to talk about how fucking sweet a kid smells. Like their sweat.
And
like,
it doesn't even have to be a kid. Like
it'd be different to be like, oh, I'm gonna miss like seeing her red cheeks from like playing so hard outside and coming in with a big smile.
Those rosy red cheeks. And
that's
that happy
normal.
Smile. Yeah, that's normal.
Not, I'm gonna miss her coming in and her smelling like the sweet smell of her sweat. Like what the fuck?
It's not even just a kid. Like you don't say that about anyone.
No, I'm sorry. If you like the smell of someone's sweat, like. Everyone has their kinks, but like still.
Honestly, they say that if someone is truly your biological opposite, that the smell of their sweat will not bother you. Mm-hmm. I can honestly say...
To an extent.
Yes. I can honestly say Drew's sweat does not bother me, but it does not mean that I'm going to bottle it and make it a fucking perfume.
Same with Teddy. Like, but at a point, I'm like... You
there is
a
a
shower, you fucking reek.
It's like, okay, like,
this is too much. Like, you fucking smell. But yeah, so that little part like changed my whole view on him. Like I really fucking think both of them had something to do with it. I really do think that because Casey talks about like what happened during her sexual assaults, and that if she would fight back, he would very often put a pillow over her face and smother her until she passed out so then he could do with what he wanted. Mm-hmm. But she was like 8 doing this. Caylee was only 3. So I think it's very fucking possible that he was sexually assaulting her and she was kind of fighting back, and he did the whole pillow thing, not realizing this is a small fucking child. Like, they were a baby 2 years ago.
Right.
And I think he accidentally killed her because Lee, the brother, and Casey both said that the way she was found is how George used to take their family pets and go bury them, wrapped in a family blanket, wrapped in a trash bag that was taped up, and put into some kind of container that they could bury. Exactly the same way. So that's why I'm like, why the fuck did they not look into him?
So he was willing to let her take the rap.
Basically. And no one ever got charged or any kind of thing like that. Though I think he did get karma to him because he got into such a bad accident that he like broke his back or like neck or something like that. And he was in one of those like head cages where they have it screwed into your
halos.
Yeah. He was in one of those and all of that. And there's an interview where he's in that and it's after this. And I think he had a fucking like epiphany about everything because at this point, Casey and them haven't talked in a long time. Like, she's completely estranged and everything like that. Like, she was been living with her fucking, like, legal team, and one of her legal team, like, took her in because she filed for bankruptcy because she couldn't afford the $200,000, like, bill that she got put on and everything like that. And, like, he provided a job, so she does research for her lawyer, that used to be her lawyer and all that kind of stuff, and like lived with him until she got back on her feet, and now she like has a roommate.
So she's like his paralegal.
Yeah. Without officially like going to the school and everything like that. Just kind of helps him get his research in order. And she's doing pretty good for herself considering, you know, she's trying to keep it down low. She doesn't want to be in the public eye. But in that report, or like that interview, and like she watches it in this other documentary where he goes, they were like, oh, well, if you could say anything to Casey, like what would you say, because we know you haven't talked in a while. And he's like, I just wish that they would like everyone would forgive me for what I did. And, like, even Cindy's like, wait, what? Like, what did you do? And he wouldn't elaborate. And Casey was like, what? Like, what the fuck? Like, she knew.
He just admitted it then, basically.
Basically.
Without admitting it. I mean, it wouldn't hold up in court, but
no, like,
knows.
this isn't going to go to another trial. They're never going to go against this and everything like that. But that's why I'm like, he definitely did something. Casey knew. And she's not saying. None of them are going to say anything.
Well,
but I mean, definitely think
she was abused by him for so long.
I definitely think that she walked in on him doing something, or like about to go take her away or something like that, and probably actually went like, she'll be back, and just. That's why I believe, like, she full-heartedly believed the whole, like, he kidnapped her story. Like, that, like, I think that there's truth in some of her lies and whatnot, and that she did not know how to handle this because of, like, how much trauma she dealt with her dad and didn't know how to go against him.
But that brings me back to the car again. It's just going to keep bringing me back to the car, because if we go with the assumption that it was him that did it, does that mean that he put Caylee in the trunk and basically instigated that fight to get her to leave, to take the car, to take the evidence, to take the blame? Like, how does... You know what I mean? Like, if there was a way... I feel like if there was a way to prove who put the car where the car...
But, like, that's another thing. Her body was only found, like, a few streets over. So, like... How does the car get to be smelling so bad if she, like, who knows how long she was sitting on the side of the road? I don't know. Because it really was just in a ditch. It wasn't, in the woods. It was like, oh, you could throw that from a car kind of distance.
Right. But it's hard to say, because I feel like if I didn't get to see the Dr. G episode, but now I'm going to see if I can find it.
Well, it's not on that episode. It's just,
Or she was just involved in the case?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel like if she decomposed in the blanket in the bag, there would be evidence there of that. So if they could have just explained what that spot in the trunk was it fluid from a decomposing corpse, or was it trash? If they could have proved that, that could have given all of the answers they would have needed. If that was truly trash,
poorly done.
If that was truly trash, you could have called Casey innocent instantly.
Right.
I mean, she technically, she still got her innocent verdict because there was insufficient evidence, but I feel like if they could have proven her innocent,
I think they needed
more definitively, then there could have been a better opportunity to go after someone else.
They needed to do a lot more police work.
They did.
And, like... Nothing against the detectives, because some of the detectives were really trying to figure it out, but, like, I think they just didn't know how to go about it, because the whole case was like, we don't know who is telling the truth. Like,
right, but she wasn't doing herself any favors, but it's not like she could control it with that monotone thing. Knowing with the history of the sexual abuse, I mean, she was beaten.
That's where I think they did have a psychologist or something say that she basically was putting herself into this, how to say,
almost
this
like a robot face,
like this parallel, like, version of herself. Of she basically just shut down and went on, like, autopilot mode,
making herself
kind of
be
thing.
Who she needed to be to get things done.
Basically, yeah.
I've got
and
that
like
mode.
that's why I don't discredit the sexual abuse. Like, I full-heartedly believe that was happening.
I'm gonna be honest. For the first, like, 20-25 minutes of you telling me this story, I thought she was guilty as fuck.
See, I definitely think she was involved.
I don't think she wasn't involved, but
I don't think she had big of a part.
I don't think she was involved by choice.
No. I don't think she was the one that instigated it. That's why I really believe that George did it, and it was one of those things of he, like, accidentally killed her while trying to get her to basically succumb to him. And that's because in one of the interviews she was talking about, you know, how, like, Casey said that he would put the pillow over her face. And, like, that would make sense. Like, you can't tell suffocation from bones.
Right.
So it's like, I could see him freaking out and packing her up like he would the family dog or family cat and go and take care of her, you know? And just, instead of him admitting that he did it, because he also was trying to hide from the fact that he was cheating on his wife multiple times and all that kind of stuff. Like, he's not a good guy.
By abusing children.
Mm-hmm.
That's a terrible person.
Because they had other, like, one of his mistresses came out who he met at the memorial for not at the memorial, one of the search party things.
He met her in a search party.
Met her at a search party for fucking Caylee and started cheating on his wife with this chick. And she went on trial to talk about him.
And now, just give me a refresher. What was his former job? And
a police officer.
You know, that could very well be why it was kind of shoddy police work. If he knew the officers.
Oh yeah, they're not gonna. Well, I think he was an officer in Ohio, and then they moved.
Oh, okay. Maybe
I'm not sure what the timeline of that is.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, an ex-cop's not gonna do this. Right. An ex-cop wouldn't sexually assault his daughter. I mean, they obviously fucking will. Like, just because you're a cop doesn't mean you're a good person. Sorry.
Truth, but it doesn't mean that all cops are bad people.
No, not all cops are bad people. We got some pretty good ones here in our town. They're great. But some of them just get that power.
Some of them give the rest a bad rap. Mm-hmm. They get the power of the badge.
At least one good thing did come out of this, and it's called Caylee's Law.
Okay.
A lot of states have implemented it, Florida being the big one. Basically, if a parent or guardian does not report that the child's missing in a certain time frame, it's a felony.
Good.
Because of the fact that it was 31 days. And all she had to do was the next day, my kid's missing.
And I can't get a hold of Zanny.
Mm-hmm. And I think this case would have gone a lot differently, and I think her dad would have been investigated. I really do think, because it was just her. Because they looked at phone records. Mm-hmm. They were looking at Casey's phone records and everything like that. They got George's call log, but not like the tower pings kind of thing to see like location wise. But they got Cindy's to show that Cindy was at work and that Casey was home, but they didn't know between George leaving. Know where
George was.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm like, there was some shoddy fucking
badge kind of thing.
Yeah, it was shoddy because they were fucking called out on it. They're like, well, why didn't you get his things? So they're like, well, we had his logs and we didn't really think he was involved.
Because he was a cop.
And then they were like, well, who's the first people you look at? He's like, well, the family, of course. And they're like, no, the fuck you didn't.
He started with that right off the bat. Just, oh, hey, how you doing, fellas? I used to be an officer in Ohio.
And that's what it is, because he was interrogated and everything like that. And he goes, I'm an ex-cop. Like, I'll help you any way you can. And then immediately he wasn't investigated after that. They kind of like went soft on him, and then it was all about Casey. So
at least there's some good news out of it, though. I mean, it's always sad to hear the stories that make these laws become a reality, but it's always good to see the laws. Well, a lot of
it's sad that something bad had to happen for these laws to be made, but it's like,
thank you.
But I'm glad that law got made, because first of all, I don't know who's waiting that long, because a lot of people aren't. Also, a lot of the times it is a myth of the whole you have to wait 24 hours to report somebody missing,
especially if they're underage.
It's not really a thing. You can be missing for like 3 hours. If you're supposed to be back at somewhere, you can be reported missing.
I don't have Facebook, but I couldn't find Gypsy for 45 minutes, and I called my mom freaking out. She made a Facebook post for me. Like, she was sleeping under the bed.
Facebook is great. You need to find somebody. Facebook is fucking fantastic for that. But
I don't like it.
Yeah.
To each their own.
Yeah.
This is as social as I get.
I use it for fucking memes and to talk to my mom.
This is as social as I get, for sure.
Otherwise, no one actually knows what happened to her. And I think it's so fucking sad.
You know, you'd think that there'd be some kind of deathbed confession or something. I mean, George came very, very close to saying it without actually saying it.
That interview. I'll play you that interview if I can find it.
Unfortunately, I also couldn't find that audio.
Fucking crazy. But I definitely think that you should watch those two documentaries. They're on 2 different platforms.
Okay.
One of them is on Discovery Plus, and then the other one is on Peacock.
What are they called?
One of them is literally just, I think they're both, like, I think if you just go on the app and type in Casey.
Okay, perfect. Honestly, with as many documentaries as there are on a lot of things, if you do a generalized Google search for Casey Anthony documentaries, where to watch, it'll probably give you a pretty comprehensive list, because she said she did 6.5 hours of research, so there's probably going to be a few options.
Well, it was just between those 2 documentaries, and they all had 3 episodes, and they were all like an hour something long.
Yeah, so very, very thorough information on that. This was...
And there was some stuff that I kind of like left. It was just mediocre stuff that didn't really go into...
This was definitely a doozy, though, I think.
Yeah.
I would rate it a solid 4 out of 5 doozies, I think.
The crime itself wasn't gruesome. It's not gory and all of that kind of stuff. We don't know.
It's all the lying that makes it so...
It's
just... The deception, the runaround, the lack of police work and
you don't know who
investigation.
To believe.
Yeah.
Whew. This case got me so fucking heated.
I'm
so
getting
angry.
a little heated.
Patty was like, "Are you okay?" That I'm taking notes, and I'm just like huddled in a corner, and I'm just like, "I need to get this done."
She actually told me very descriptively how she was like face like 3 inches away from her iPad, furiously writing her notes. And then her iPad died, so she's got random lines everywhere on her notes.
I got like 7 pages.
Her pen died, yeah.
7 pages of notes for this, and I could have had more because I just jotted down like quick notes to mention. A lot of this is just stored in my brain.
Honestly, if you only said the things that you wrote down, it probably would have only taken about 20 minutes, but it's nice having those like things where you're like,
getting more comfortable for it. We are.
We're growing up, you guys.
We do have patches being made.
We have patches rather than stickers being made through some help from friends of some friends of ours. So they're helping us with that.
I can't wait to see them.
We are still going to get stickers at a later date. Those are still going to be in the thing, but the patches was just a really neat idea because we can put it on our doozy koozies. Speaking of doozies,
koozies might be copyrighted. We're not entirely sure about that, but well, we're not selling them.
They're just our personal doozy koozies. Sorry. But speaking of doozies, we're going to bring back the poll. Let us know below. 1 to 5 doozies. I'm rating it a 4 out of 5 today.
It's a solid 4, like 4.5 for me.
It's solid 4. It's not a soft 4, but
no,
it could have been worse.
It's half-mast.
Half-mast would be a 3.
A half-mast 4? You said it's not a soft 4. It's a solid 4.
It's a good, strong, hard 4.
Oh, man. Rock hard.
Anyway, let us know what you think below on the doozy scale.
Yeah.
And I did update the question, so instead of it asking what you thought of this episode, which you can still reply to the question down below, I've changed it to say, if you've got any case ideas, let us know.
Yes,
and we'll research it.
At some point, we're going to be like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, I've still got a list of like 20 cases that I want to do, but I keep like listening to things and being like, this one's interesting.
That's what I have happen. And then we are planning on having some kind of guests on the podcast to show like their point of view of certain ones,
especially in ones where they've got pertinent cases,
like happened in their city, or that they like interacted with that person.
It's gonna be fun.
It's so cool that we have. I love the fact that I'll just throw it out there that it's both of our fucking stepfathers that are just like, hey, I didn't know what happened.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that, because we're not going to warn you when we're going to have a guest.
It's just going to happen.
You got to come find out.
Hence why our cornhole name is consistently
inconsistent. Yes, we are. So next week is going to be my case.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you guys about the Dozier School next week, and then the week after that is going to be Faith's case, and I'm going to tell you in advance, it was pre-recorded. I do apologize for last week's audio issues. I'm still trying to tinker around with the microphone setup for when it comes to adding in that third person.
Yeah.
It's a little bit trickier. I think I might have it figured out, but I got to do some more testing. But her episode that's going to be airing, I think I said the 18th.
Yeah, because we both have some vacation
We've
kind of small vacations coming up.
We've got some event situations going on. Highly technical term.
We tried to record.
Yeah, so we
committed podcasters.
Yeah, so we pre-recorded her first episode on the same day that we recorded
she did
that
so
other one.
Good
She did awesome.
I'm so proud.
But I feel bad about the audio issues, and I haven't had a chance to edit that yet. So those audio issues might also be in hers. But I promise you, I'm getting better. I'm
very proud. You do so much technical stuff. I just show up.
Thanks.
I just show up to her house and walk in and be
well,
like,
you do the art though.
Yes, the only
you do the art and I make the patches. Well, I digitize the patches. I'm tech bitch.
Make you a shirt that says tech bitch.
Yes. I would love a shirt that says
tech bitch and research bitch.
Yes. Oh, what's Faith gonna be?
Oh man, I just show up.
Hers will just say bitch. So we will see you guys next week. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to let us know what you thought down below and rate us on the doozy scale. Bella, would you like to join us for the goodbyes?
Bye.